Cindy set a standard. Councilman Paul McFarland.
Thank you, Elizabeth. As you know, the city has taken a role to work in a bipartisan to pass 3 of our major labor union contracts. The laborers, the Teamsters, and the police. As the next councilman representing Ward 2, you'll probably have the opportunity to work along with the next administration for the fire contract. I want to hear from each of you, how would you handle that contract and what decisions would you be asking for as part of concessions for those contracts?
Thank you, Paula. Amelia, we'll start with you.
The administration negotiates the contract and negotiates the union contracts, and as council we would ratify it. I would review the contract and with making sure that it has the best interest of Cranston families. Again, we can't sacrifice public safety. These firefighters risk their lives. And again, they're different. They're not the private sector. And I hear a lot that they want to be treated like the private sector. And I think that's incorrect. You have the private sector, and then you have the workings of a city and a town. And we deal with police, we deal with fire, we deal with laborers, we deal with teachers, and you just can't work with them all the same way as you would in the private sector. They want to bring everything in line with the private sector. My fear is that if the compensation is not there to keep firefighters in the city, there's going to be a lack of them, and we can't have that. So we need to make sure that there's enough of a plan and enough of a compensation that still benefits Cranston families, not losing any quality in service.
Thank you, Amelia. Joe?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for the question, Councilman McFarland. The fire contract, that's a good question. We've seen the teacher's contract, we've seen the police contract. We recently had the policemen negotiate their contract, and they're taking care of 17% of their co-share on their health care, which is generous on their part. Originally, the city council wanted 20%. We were able to reach a compromise and come to 17%. I'll be perfectly honest, I have not seen the fireman's contract. However, when I have the opportunity, if elected September 12th and November 7th, to look at that contract, I will exercise my due diligence and I will do my extra homework to make sure that taxpayers in the city of Cranston can afford some of the terms that are in the contract. Many of the city council meetings, I actually had the opportunity to watch President of the Firefighters Association, Mr. Paul Valletta, concede to a few things. I know those gentlemen just gave up $100,000 out of their budget with matching funds from the city to take care of a safety piece of equipment, which was generous on his part. My opinion with that was simply this: it's a city-owned piece of property. The city should pay for the whole thing. The city is growing. We need more fire stations. We need more firemen. It's very simple. If your family grows, you need more clothes, you need more bread. We need to make sure that these contracts are going to be honored. However, they cannot be something that's going to take advantage of the taxpayers in the city of Cranston. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Mark, would you like to finish up this question?
Thank you, Councilwoman McFarland, for the excellent question, and I think it's a valid question as well. It is very necessary to work in a bipartisan manner. I've known you for a long time. You used to be my councilwoman back when my area was part of Ward 3, not part of Ward 2, and I remember having very good conversations and things with you. I'd enjoy working with you further on the city council, and I mean that. I believe that the Teamsters have set the standard in their contract negotiations. I think it was a very fair negotiating sessions. I think that there were things given by the unions and by the administration. The last thing I want to see is either side come out of a contract negotiation doing cartwheels and saying, this is great. I want people to feel that it was a very hard-won, hard-fought battle, and that they got what they needed. I think that contracts need to be fair for both the union members and the taxpayers. I think it's easier to budget for salary than it is to budget for benefits, because benefits are moving so volatilely in the market. So it's my opinion that everyone out there in the service industry, the police, the firefighters, everyone, they're all reasonable professionals, and they are professionals, and they certainly go through a tremendous amount of training to do the things that they do, and they should be rewarded for that. I read the old firefighters contract, and I'm very interested to see the areas that are going to be negotiated in and out of the contract. But I certainly support a bipartisan effort, and like I said, they're reasonable professionals. They know it's 2006. Things have to change, and I think it needs to be fair for everyone.
Thank you, Mark. I actually have a follow-up question. All three of you mentioned the council's role as a ratifier of the agreed-upon contracts. Not long ago, the city council passed an ordinance that allowed a council member to sit in on negotiations as part of the due diligence for the council. Unfortunately, that didn't go forward as planned. The council person who attempted to attend the meetings was escorted to the door by the police department. And as far as I know, no council person yet has sat in on the contract negotiations. Do you believe that the council should be taking a more active role in contract negotiations rather than an all-or-nothing ratification entity? And if so, what sort of role do you envision? Why don't we start with Joe?
It's unfortunate to see that Councilman Cindy Fogarty had to be let up by the police, but I'm sure she didn't have to wear the bracelet, so we won't have to worry about that. My opinion is simply this: if the city council and the body of the city council is Congress for the city of Cranston, and they're looking out for their taxpayers and their constituents, then I believe that it is prudent that they sit in on every meeting. If they're going to be voted into office and speak for the people that are in charge of putting their money into an account 4 times a year, our budget, I believe the city council people should have more of an active role. I would be in favor of that as a city council person. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Mark?
Where's Council President Garavini when you need him? I'm going to agree with him right now. I firmly believe that the council has more power, per se, than the administration. And as such, I believe the checks and balances are already in place. Over the last couple of years, I found many areas where I agree with Councilwoman Fogarty, much to her and our delight. And unfortunately, I don't agree with this one. I think the checks and balances are already in place. I think that the administration, whoever it may be, and my position will not change whether the administration changes hands or not. I just believe that the administration's responsibility is to negotiate the best contract it can. If the city council does not feel that this contract is in the best interests of all taxpayers, then they are free to reject it out of hand and send it back to the administration, hopefully with a litany of notes saying you need to do this, 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 and this. This is unfair. This is whatever. I really think that the council has all the power it needs as a ratification body to do what's necessary for the best interests of all taxpayers. So no, I do not support city councilors sitting in on every negotiating session and having a hand in every contract negotiation. I think that it's perfectly acceptable to honor the separation of powers, if you will, the checks and balances that are in place. We see that at the federal level, I'm not going to say it works very well because it doesn't, but that's the standard we have. And I feel that the city council also has plenty on their plate as it is. And adding another thing onto their plate as a part-time body may prove to be problematical down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Amelia?
I wouldn't be in support of that as well. I agree with Mark. The administration, that's their responsibility for the workings of the city, everyday workings. And there's lawyers that get involved, and there's the unions that get involved as far as negotiating those, and they go on, and they can go on and on. Negotiations aren't an easy thing. Once that contract, tentative contract is agreed upon, it goes to city council. I think making sure that there's enough time for the city council to review it, I would do my due diligence to make sure that everything is done in the best interest of the city, the Cranston taxpayers. And as a body, it can get difficult. There's other opinions. The council never, they could vote differently and still ratify. 5-4 vote would ratify the contract. Again, we as a body have to work together to make sure that that we all have the best interest of Cranston families. So I wouldn't support that, having a council person sitting on negotiations. But I think as a legislative body, we do have the power to turn down that contract and send it back if it's not right for the city.
Thank you, Amelia. Any other questions? Thoughts? Oh, come on, welcome in for a reason. Come up again.
This is for everybody. I would like to know, as a taxpayer and resident of Cranston, if you were elected to be our councilman for Ward 2, what do you think your first accomplishment will be within the first 6-month period? What is your priorities?
Thank you very much. I believe that this will start with Mark.
Thank you. Another great question. I think it's very important to establish the relationships that are going to be necessary to move forward in a professionally friendly manner. I think that perhaps there's a lot of information that's out on the public record. I know I've been critical at times of the city council. I've also been quick to praise them when I think they're doing absolutely the right thing. So I don't play any favorites in that respect. But I think it's very important to establish the relationships first and foremost, because for the next 2 years, you're going to be working hand in hand with these folks. It's important to basically start with a clean slate, understand what everybody's goals are. Everyone has their own goals on the city council. Certainly, it's to represent their ward, and first and foremost, and then to represent the taxpayers as a whole. But those relationships are key. I think the second thing, and this is something that happens in between November and January, when you take your oath of office, is that it's absolutely important to understand the format of a city council meeting. You have to get your Robert's Rules of Order. You have to read it. You have to understand it. If you need clarification, you need to find someone who can answer that question and give you the right information so you can effectively participate in a city council meeting and also know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate by your colleagues. I think that cannot be underscored. And over the last 5 years that I've been going to city council meetings, I've been fortunate to see some council presidents who really knew how to get the job done. Peter Pastore was one of them. He was outstanding. Aaron Garabedian also knows how to get the job done, but it's important to know all the rules and regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. If you'll excuse me, Amelia, I think I'm going to skip you. I was supposed to start with Joe. It's been brought to my attention. So Joe gets the second spot, and you'll have to finish up. Joe, please.
Thank you. And I won't take all the time allotted. Bottom line is this: if I'm elected to be a city council person, The first thing we need to do is take care of the flooding issue, which has plagued our city for many, many years. This is forcing people out of their homes, they're incurring extra debt, and they still have to pay the taxes to the city 4 times a year to keep up with our annual budget. Nothing gets done over and over and over again. The city council meetings drag out for 3.5, 4 times, 4.5 to 5 hours, and things are placed on the table and moved to the next meeting. The residents of the city of Cranston and the surrounding areas of Ward 2 are highly susceptible to some of the flooding. People have lost money, people have lost tangible improvements, people have lost hot water heaters, people have lost simple things they cannot replace, like pictures and memorabilia of their families since they've lived in Cranston. The first order of business I want to do is to form a committee that is going to hire lawyers to get to the bottom of this and find out how much it's going to cost the city of Cranston to make sure that this never happens again, because families cannot afford to be put out of their homes again. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Amelia?
Another good question. A lot of good questions tonight. And it's good to see the room filled up with constituents, guests that care about city government and the candidates. But my first goal would be to just address the Park Cinema issue. I still, every day that I go down there, I just see that nothing's been done down there. And it should be on the agenda, and it should be moved forward to find a solution to just fix that Park Cinema. We need to move on that. The other thing that another goal that I want to bring that I would do would be again, is reestablish civic pride in the city. I look back again. I look back 30 years ago at some of the issues, and the issues were, believe it or not, high taxes, schools, crime. The issues, they don't really change much. They stay the same. And but the one thing that I get is that we don't have enough. I like to bring back like the Harvest Festival and establish families gathering down at the center of town. So working with that Park Cinema and using that place to celebrate. I'd love to bring my kid down there on a festival and say, this is City Hall. I mean, there's so much that could be done down there. It's a great, great place. It's in the heart of Ward 2. And I mean, running a Little League, and I mean, out of all the things that we do, organizing, the best thing that I love to do is when we parade down the street and we follow those kids into the field, and we have the train, the ladder truck, as well as the police, escorting them down. And that's what it's about. It's about the families. It's about the kids. It's about bringing pride back into this city.
Thank you very much, Amelia. It looks like we have time for one more quick question. Please come on.
Sorry, Martha and Emilio, I just have a quick question for Joe. As a lifelong Democrat, I was just curious what sparked your change to run from public office as a Republican to running for public office as a Democrat?
Thank you very much. Joe, if you need it, you have 4 minutes to answer the question. I don't think you'll need it.
It'll take 1 minute. George Bush has let this country down more than one time. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out from time to time in life we've all made a mistake. That's why I decided that my views are more in touch with the Democratic Party. I'm working class, my wife is working class, my family on both sides, my side and my wife's side, are both working class. The taxes we're paying on the federal level are not fair. George Bush also promised to work and reform health care. He has not done that. Thank you.
The other 2 candidates have 1 minute apiece to respond, if either of you would like to. Rebut? Any comments? Okay. It looks like that's about all the time we have. Thank you so much for coming out on this evening, for giving up your evening. I'd like to thank the 3 candidates for all coming out this evening, answering our questions. I'd especially like to thank Ted Young, who is an agent for Aflac, who so thoughtfully offered to come out and talk to us. And I'd like to acknowledge the candidates and the one council person who didn't get up, Jeff Barone, over in the corner. So if you want any more information information about the candidates. They have their palm cards on the back of the table, or you feel free to come up and chat with them. There's about 15 minutes before the library kicks us out. And I see Deb Greifer from the school committee all the way in the back. If you enjoy this debate and you have an interest in the Senate District 28, we are holding another debate. There's a 4-way primary in that race. I realize that Ward 2 is not part of Senate District 28, but if you have an interest in the community, we encourage you to come out. The debate will be held September 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. at William Hall Library. So if you need more information, you can always check the Crescent Herald website. And thank you again.
Your scowl is very
Don't
good.
leave the building, Bill.
Very good.
Mark, take care.